किससे वही रहेंगे।
Welcome into another episode at the Critics Collective. This one, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. My apologies if I sound ignorant on this one, if I mispronounce things or don't have anything all together. I know comedically sometimes it seems like I'm doing that on purpose. I'm not. I promise you that. This one's different because this movie is in a different part of the world, so I'm not going to understand it necessarily. I believe it's based on a true story. I'm not sure. And this movie's called The Maharaj, if I'm saying that correctly. If not, someone can put in the comments, I guess, the correct way to say it. But for this movie, again, when I'm on streaming services, I just look for something grabs my attention, and this cover grabbed my attention, and I went ahead and took a watch. Now, it shows a woman, looks like from India. There's like some candles and stuff, and I don't know if she's behind a veil or a wall, or if there's a mirror and she's looking at a reflection, and it grabbed my attention. Now, this is a 2-hour running movie. You know how I feel about 2-hour movies. Came out in 2024. Again, this is on Netflix. Now, before we get into the highs and lows, the impressions, and rating this movie, I want to say, hey, the road to three. Well, I was going to say the road to 3 million. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, the road to 1 million. Hit the subscribe button, follow, like, comment, all the other stuff. Check us out for 3 minutes. See, that's where the 3 comes in. 3 minutes. Let us know in the comments, hey, should we watch this? Should we be watching this other show? Or maybe you enjoyed this one and you have a different rating. Go for it. Just let us know. Check us out. 3 minutes is all we ask. Now, for this movie, my first impression, like I said before, was I just saw this woman here, the font or the title, just something about it grabbed my attention. Now, I'll be completely honest, because normally I'm honest here. It wasn't that I grabbed it because it was like, hey, she's attractive and let's see what this is about. There was something about, I don't know, the title. I felt like the word I've heard before in other movies that I've watched in India, or not in India, but movies from India. And so for this one, I don't know what the word means, respectfully, but there was just something about it where I'm like, I've heard this word before. I know there's a significance to it. Let me watch it. I was expecting a religious tone in this movie, but I just didn't know what I was getting for it. So IMDB says this: based on real life based on real life historic court case, a bold journalist questions a revered leader, immortal's behavior. Oh, wow. Okay, that's eye-opening for me. That just confirms some things and just lines some stuff up. So it loosely kind of says kind of what's going on. The best way I can put it, if you're in the US and there's a religious leader, a pastor, a person head of the church or whatnot, and this person has relationships with your wife, your soon-to-be wife, and it changes everything, because this person who's ahead of this church or whatever religious sector you're at, they have the power to do this, because based off of tradition, based off of no one challenging this, and its own rule. It doesn't follow any city, state governed laws. It's just, this is what this rule is, and you have to flow with it. It's been going on for decades, generations, even probably, and you're just seeing how impactful this is, and there's one person who's affected, and they decide to start telling people that this isn't right, and they start going through their path, their journey on it. So this is based on a true story. This is based on, I believe there's a novel for this as well, and there's court cases that happen. Now, the highs and lows. The lows for this was that it was too long. That's not a bad thing. These are my highs and lows. The reason why I say too long is, being in the US, we're just used to movies that are somewhat shorter, unless there's action or something that grabs our attention. And I think Netflix knows this. There's a report that came out, or a review, something, I don't know if it was in Variety, where they said, hey, look, they're designing their subtitles and the movies and the directions are going in these movies to dumb it down for us in the US, where they want it where you're able to still watch it and watch it on your phone, like be on your phone and still follow along, because they know we're just consuming so much, and that they're trying to get the running times down smaller so that we can just focused. And so I could see it being too long for a lot of the people, but the story was captivating enough for me to continue and not look at my watch and say, man, this is too long. But just keep in mind the length of it, I could see deterring some people. Now, the other thing I would say is the transition from Act Two to the end of the movie were drastic. It changes, and when you first get in, you get in with bright colors and everything that's warm, and then it changes and it gets darker. The music gets darker, and obviously, for obvious reasons, respectfully, the tone gets darker in this. Now, the other thing I would say would be the male lead. I think the male lead was convincing enough, but there just I can't put my finger on it. There was something about the male lead in this story that just didn't drive the significant points home like some of the other characters did and the supporting cast did. The good things I would say is the fashion, the color. It felt authentic. It felt real. And at the end of the movie, it does show some of the places that go back and forth that are real and the people's names. So when I watched it, it just felt like, hey, this isn't just a drama movie. This is a historic movie. This is something that is going into something that is talking about what the people over there have endured and what they're working on as we speak. And it reminds me of, I believe, the movie review called Monkey Paw, where um, that director slash creator and actor said, "Hey, look, this is why I've created this. This is why we're doing this." And and from us watching it here in the U.S., it was like you see something there, but you really can't fully understand. And I felt like with this now, more things that I think that I enjoyed from it, or I know I enjoyed from it, was the story. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I did enjoy the story arc of what was going on. I enjoyed the elements that they did. There were moments, and I watched this in the actual language with the dub. So I just read it. I like doing that with movies because I feel like I get better emotion versus the dubbed English version. So if I'm going to watch something from another country, respectfully, I'd rather watch it in their language and just read it and kind of go through there. That's just me. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna rate it, and you let me know if you enjoyed it. What you put in the comments. Now we have a scale. It goes from 0 to 5 or 5 to 0, however you look at it. But 5 is being the best. It's excellent. The excellence of execution, the best there ever is and was. If you know who that was, put in the comments. And then 0 is just a jobber at this point. Now for this movie, like I said before, I think all the pieces were great. I'm not saying anything negative about the lead male cast. I just, for some reason, whether it was the direction or something, it felt like it felt like it wasn't as gritty that I wanted from that lead, and so that's what kind of took back from me and place it where, though this story is a great story, especially finding out now that it's a true story and there's more information you can get from it, I would highly put this at a 3. I want to give it a 4, but if I'm not rating the story and the basis of the story being true, I'm rating the execution of it. You watch it and you're going to get a great story and you get a chance to learn something about the people over there and a part of their country. And then it's just the execution of it. There's some elements that you walk away from for sure and they stay with you mentally. And then it just doesn't hit home all the way for some of the roles. And the best way I can kind of compare it to, and it's not the same thing, but um, when you watch movies, whether it's Glory with Matthew and Denzel, if those actors and some of the supporting actors aren't believable to the true story they're in, they're not as significant and impactful when you're watching and you leave the theater. Um, you also have movies like the Anne Frank story. If the acting isn't there and not immersive enough for you to stay continued with the story, the true story itself just doesn't stick with you when you leave the theater. And there's something about that. So you could have been anywhere in the world and you chose to be here. I'm the Dad Panther. Until next time, click allow.